Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big debate. This is our coverage of the upcoming African Cup of Nations 2023 in Ivory Coast with myself and Tru3Lion. And over the next 1 month or so, we'll have a couple of other guests. So this is going to be the 34th edition of the African Cup of Nations, which will be hosted by Ivory Coast. The competition will be hosted across 6 stadiums. 3 of them are in Abidjan, the capital, 2 in main town Abidjan, and 1 outside of the capital. And interestingly, one of the stadiums have been named after one of the iconic Ivorian player, Laurent Poku. 24 teams have qualified for this tournament. And have been divided into 6 different groups with 4 teams per tournament. With me today to discuss everything on this tournament, especially the preview, but with main focus on Cameroon, is the legendary Tru3Lion. Good evening, Tru3Lion, and welcome to the big debate.
Thank you for having me, Dr. T, as I normally call you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, the title of this show is African Cup of Nations 2023 with Tru3Lion. So your name is actually the name of the show. So that's how much respect we have for you. And thank you for all for your time joining us. So we are going to talk a little bit about the African Cup of Nations organization itself. But most importantly, our focus today is going to be on the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. So I have a few questions for you before we go to Cameroon. So 24 teams have qualified. Overall, 24 teams have qualified, 6 different groups, 4 teams per group. Overall, what is your take on the organization by Ivory Coast so far? You saw that, like I mentioned earlier, there are 5 new stadiums. One, the one which hosted the finals in 1984, and 4 newer ones. So what do you think, and what is your assessment of the overall preparation of Ivory Coast?
I think Ivory Coast is actually doing very good. I've been following them on social media, on various platforms, TikTok. I also follow some Cameroonian bloggers, because, you know, there's always that healthy competition between Cameroon and Ivory Coast going back and forth. So far, infrastructure good, arrival at the airports of different teams good, presentation. And what actually gets my attention a lot is the way the various African teams are dressed in traditional wear and all that. So that's colorful and beautiful, and that's a statement to the next generation.
Yeah, I think that's really that's one of the most impressive things I've seen so far. Most of the teams which are arriving, Ghana in particular, impressed me a lot. And then I saw that from Senegal. So I think there is a trend moving towards the respect and recognition of African traditions once more. Okay.
Yes, that's very right. And I think the president of CAF is doing a great job so far. And keep in mind also, the price of the winner has been, is it doubled or quadrupled?
Yeah. I don't recall the exact amount now, but it's a huge sum of money, and it's relatively maybe 2-3 times the previous amount. So
I think it's 4 times, because I read about it. I think it's 4 times. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the tournament itself. So we have 24 teams. Let me just show you the teams which are going to take place in the tournament. So those are the teams. So what is your take? Would you think who are your favorites? I'll ask your favorites, and then I'll also show you the bookies' favorites.
I think for me, Morocco comes to mind. Morocco, why Morocco? Morocco actually had a great World Cup semi-finals, first African teams to go to semi-final, and this has been planned by them for quite a while. So there is some continuity with the Moroccan team. I'll also look at maybe Senegal. They also be motivated to win it back-to-back. You know, 3 African teams have won it back-to-back: Egypt, Cameroon, and Ghana. Egypt has actually done it twice where they won in 2006,
Yes.
2008, and 2010. So those two teams, because I don't want to give you three teams, but those are my two favorites.
Okay, so now you've given me your two favorites. So those there here are the bookies favorites. So they have Senegal, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, Nigeria, and Ivory Coast, mainly because they are the host. So okay, let's see if you've given your favorites. I think if you ask me, I think Cameroon are favorites because you never know when they will show up. Even when the lion is sleeping, it wakes up at the last minute. Okay, so now let's talk about Cameroon. The current coach of Cameroon is Rigobert Song Bahana. He won the African Cup of Nations himself as a player in 2000 and 2002. He's one of the few players who have won it back to back. And here is his selection for the tournament. So this is the Cameroon team. This is the selection. What is your take on the overall selection of Cameroon?
I think Song made a statement. If you listen to his press conference leading to the release of this squad, he said, "Nous sommes dans la continuité." What he actually meant was that because he was actually asked about a player, Choupo-Moting, why leave Choupo-Moting out of this competition?
Yes.
So that was his response. He said, "Nous sommes dans la continuité." The way I look at it is that he's talking about bringing in the young and phasing out the old players,
the older players,
the old nucleus that was in that team. Remember, before World Cup, he also let Ngade go.
Yes.
Now it's Choupo-Moting. Tomorrow it might be Abubakar. So that's the way I look at it. And you say Cameroon is one of the favorites. Well, if you look at it like that, then I don't think this squad, if I have to be honest, this squad, I cannot bet my money that this squad is going to win the World Cup.
No, I said Cameroon is a favorite from a perspective of a fan.
Oh, well, that I do understand.
Yes.
When I'll be watching as a fan, of course, Cameroon, I want Cameroon to win. And if I remember, in 2017, Cameroon were outsiders, but they won it all. And one of the reasons that they won it was also good coaching. So, yes, for me, the squad is good. It's for today, be competitive, and for the future, right? Because
so Tru3Lion is satisfied with the selection.
Yeah, of course, I'm satisfied with the selection, but now it doesn't mean that I do agree with everything that is.
Of course,
right?
80%,
I say, 80% I say I'm satisfied. So come the 15th, Rigobert Song has to show us why he picked this squad.
Why he picked up. So, which players should we expect? Which players are we hoping will show up in the tournament? Players to watch for Cameroon.
Well, I'm thinking about Nkudu. So far, he's been brilliant with his Saudi club. He's had 16 games. He's had 14 goals and 4 assists. So I think it's a player. And the way I saw him play that qualifier game in Cameroon, he was aggressive. He was moving into space. So that's a player that can bring a lot to this to the squad. Then the defense.
Yes,
I think we have Wu, we have Gonzalez. Those are then we have Yongwa, the left back. I was hoping that Rigobert Song will be using Enzo Chato as a right back, but I guess he's using Castelletto.
Yeah. So that's actually something which is very interesting. He's played Castelletto on the right side of the field, and in central defense. This is based on his last on the last friendly game, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about the selection later. But at the defense, he played Mukundi. Mukuya, my pronunciation might not be the best. So he played him in the middle, and then of course he still played him and Wu in the middle, and then Tolo on the left side.
Well, I don't see Tolo starting against Guinea for one reason, because Yongwa just has been explosive, and I think maybe Song did not start him in that game just because he brought him in later. So no, he played him as a attacking winger.
Yes,
he played him an attacking winger. Well, I don't know if that's how he's gonna line up against Guinea, but I think at left back, I think the Yongwa would be the one to start. So I mean, that's my preference. And I think maybe Gonzalez, I don't know why Mukudi, but I think maybe Gonzalez is just a better player.
Okay. Before we go to how Cameroon will play and the last game and even the team selection, let me show you what most of the bookmakers have mentioned in terms of the players to watch for Cameroon. You have Vincent Abubakar. He has 100 caps for Cameroon, 40 goals. I think he's the third, if I'm not mistaken, he's the third top scorer for Cameroon now. And then, of course, we have Zambo Anguissa, who is quite a very divided figure in terms of his performances in the Cameroon shirt. We always, we as a fans, always expect a lot from him, but most of the time there is this division that he doesn't show up. And finally, the ever controversial Andre Onana. So, do you think Abubakar is going to show up?
Well, I think last African Nations Cup, Abubakar scored 8 goals or something like that. I think if you look at the group the way that Cameroon was in, it was a weak group, and most of the teams that they played on the way getting to that semi-finals were not as good as this current group. So, well, Abubakar, we know Abubakar. If you give him the ball in the box and all that, he will score. But for me, I think Abubakar is in a decline. So I don't expect much. I don't expect much from him, no matter what, because
I mean, like he's old now, more than 30 years old. So, and he's played for quite a long time. So, but his experience will be very valuable for the team as well.
oh yes, of course, his experience will be valuable, but he needs service, right? That's why we go down to maybe Anguissa, because you also asked about Anguissa.
Yes.
So for Abubakar to be able to be at his best, he needs service from that midfield. Now, Anguissa cannot play alone. There's a game I remind, the second game of the World Cup, where Anguissa was trying to control the ball against Serbia, and then the ball was taken from him. They pressed him and took the ball and scored, right? So if we want Anguissa on the ball to be like a deep midfield playmaker, we need to have a spy, let's say Cayman or what's the other guy's name? Cayman on he used to play he plays I think in the Premier. Well,
oh, the guy who used to be in Swansea.
Cham, yes.
Cham, Olivier Cham, yeah.
Exactly. So those guys need to play alongside him like spies, right? So if he loses the ball and all that, they are out to clean up the mess and stuff like that. So for Abubakar to be as productive as he was against Cameroon, he needs service.
Needs supply.
Yes, he needs supply, and that's why a lot of noise has been made about
Choupo-Moting, which So a lot of people have talked about Choupo-Moting, but before we go to the Choupo-Moting's situation, let's talk about another interesting situation, which is the situation of Andre Onana. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. We know that the end of this year, the last 3 months, or the last 3 or 4 months for him have been I would say not the best for him, but he still remains one of the best keeper. The situation is currently is that FECAFOOT, the Cameroon Football Federation, and his current club, which is Manchester United, reached an agreement for Onana to report to the camp late. This lateness coincides with 1 day before Cameroon first fixtures, Cameroon first game in the tournament, which is on Monday. So what is your take on this decision? And do you think, I mean, like, I understand you are not the manager. Do you think Onana should start that first game?
No, I don't think Onana should start that first game, because he would have flown 6 hours and then to play the next day. It will not, even if he was ready to go, it will be disrespectful to the others that have been in camp, right?
Yes.
However, the agreement between Manchester United, it happens in football. It happens in football. In 2003 Confederation Cup, Eto'o left the camp and went and played for Mallorca against Real Madrid in Copa del Rey. I can name you many instances. It happened in Kono, Bell. I can name you many instances that this has happened. So it's nothing new. But of course, people will always make noise when it comes to Onana. And he comes back, he sits for the first game, he plays the second game and the third game. I mean, he's a starter, he's undisputed. But one thing that triggers me is why call 3 goalkeepers that don't have enough playtime for their teams, for their clubs? Why could Rigobert Song not carry a local goalkeeper? Cameroon has been creating good local goalkeepers. I understand that the league is not that good, but at least you should have taken a player that plays constantly and not 3 subs that don't play.
Yeah, I agree with you. Many people have mentioned that as well. I'm not going to give you my own opinion. I respect yours, but as you know, I think 27 or 28 players are going to the tournament. So 4 goalkeepers is not ideal, but I don't think, I think a local goalkeeper would have been good, like you mentioned. Some people have expressed their concerns why 4 goalkeepers. Again, I don't even think in this tournament more than 18 players will play the tournament. So in most cases, or we will have 6 players who will basically be tourists during the tournament. But again, yeah, we don't know. Hopefully injuries don't come in.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is not taking 4 goalkeepers. The problem is taking 3 goalkeepers that don't play in their clubs.
Yeah, that's true.
Why are you going to do that?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's talk about Cameroon last game and how you think Song is going to line up his team in the first game. So he had his players who were caught up, and then one of the players who withdrew, who plays for Olympique Marseille. I'm talking about Francois Muge, and he withdrew from the tournament because, based on what I read online, he said he wants to focus on his club football to get his career in order. And so, as a result of that, one of the players who was not called, Mumi Ngamele, was called. Interestingly, during Cameroon's last friendly with Zambia, he started. Bear in mind that Cameroon is missing one of the best, I would say Cameroon's best player due to injury, and that is the gentleman who plays for Brentford, yes, Buemo, yeah. And so Ngamere started the last friendly. Do you think this is how Song is going to line up his team in the first game?
Well,
And if not, who do you think is going to come in?
well, I'm not sure if I'll put Mukudi ahead of Gonzalez. Maybe Song is going with him because he's actually been playing that role before Gonzalez joined the team. And also, I will play the Youngwa where Bitolo actually plays, you know, and then I will get a real attacking winger to play where Youngwa actually plays. I think maybe Song is looking for a crosser because now I'm in this team, right? If you put what's his name, Toko Ekambi,
Yes.
in that he's a real striker.
Yeah.
Okay, so he can score goals, but the crosses are not actually there. He's not a good crosser of the ball when he gets
The
the ball.
balls, yeah.
His head is down and stuff like that. But now we talked about the young guy who just got called, who plays in Russia. What's his name again?
Gamelu, yes.
And I don't know why he wasn't called in the first place, because in last African Nations Cup he has the highest assist. He had three assists, so he's a creator, and he also hustles, comes back, and all that, so he can actually create for a guy.
Personally, during the African Cup, last African Cup of Nations, I thought he was Cameroon's best player on the right side. I think things changed a little bit in the World Cup because Mbuemo came in, and Mbuemo is more efficient. So he had this competition with Mbuemo. And since Song took over as coach of the national team, remember that the last game that Cameroon had to play in Algeria, he was suspended. Gamelu was suspended, so he did not play. And so that continued even after the World Cup. I don't mean suspension, but him not playing. So Song has hardly used him in the World Cup. Remember, he only played the last game.
Well, but still, I mean, if someone doesn't like him, but still, I mean, you have to look at the numbers. You have to look at the numbers. Is a player who actually one of those, apart from, okay, now we do have Kudu that can do it, that the player that is not afraid to have the ball on his feet and run against the defenders. And also, he's an assist player. He had 3 assists in the last African Cup of Nations, and that's commendable.
And he also works very, very hard. I read something online with Ta Adi, who is a very good football analyst. He did mention that Song can practically train him and play him as a right back. as a right wing back, and he will do that efficiently.
Don't get me laughing. You say Song can do what?
Can you see, can you use him as a right wing back? I mean, you don't think Song can train someone?
No, man. No, man. Let's continue. We'll get into that in different.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's talk about Cameroon fixtures then. So these are Cameroon fixtures. The first Cameroon will be playing their first game on the Monday, the 15th of January. What does Cameroon? I think we'll probably come back and talk about the first fixture and the opponent on a different day. But what do you think Cameroon needs to do to progress?
Well, I hope they have actually learned from the experience or the adventure that they went to in the World Cup. That first game against Switzerland killed Cameroon, so Cameroon has to come out. Guinea is not a small team. You have Girassi. I thought he was injured, but he was listed day to day. But he's now training and all that. And ahead, he actually before he got limped out of the Nigerian game. That's the game he limped out of, right?
Yes.
Where he scored. Yeah, he limped out of the Nigerian game. So I guess he's listed. He's been back in training, but was listed day to day. So Guinea is a team. Last African Nations Cup against Senegal, the 0-0. They will come out and fight. They're a good team. So Cameroon has to come out and make sure they take all the 3 points in that game, because if they go into that game and let's say they just get a draw, you don't want to come out second in this group. If you get a draw, then that Senegal games becomes like even bigger. But if you get a win, then you're motivated, to go and get a positive result also against Senegal.
Okay, so let me ask you the last question before we end the show. Who do you think will progress? Which two teams do you think will progress in this group?
Naturally, I would say Cameroon and Senegal, but also 3 teams can actually progress. So Guinea is out there. So for me, Gambia will go home.
Okay. Thank you, Tru3Lion, and it was a pleasure having you. We'll be back here tomorrow after the first game, and hopefully on Sunday to discuss Cameroon's first game or Group C's first game of the tournament. Thank you once more, Tru3Lion, and it's a pleasure having you. Good evening, everyone, and you have a pleasant day.
Thanks for having me.